Welcome to Mission 43's 43 Inc. Speaker Series. Our guest tonight is Josh Sweeney, a combat-wounded United States Marine, a Paralympic gold medalist, an Idahoan, and an elite adaptive athlete. During the YouTube premiere, Josh and I will be available to answer any questions in the live chat, as will members of Mission 43 and the Challenge Athletes Foundation Idaho. Thanks for being with us. Sit back, relax, and enjoy Josh's inspirational story.
There's a lot of shared issues. You look at CAF athletes and what they go through and the struggles that they are dealing with. Obviously, for some folks, when they get injured, there's a huge transition piece that's involved. And there's some really hard days, and there's probably some days that they don't want to get up out of bed. The same is true for some of your veterans and some of your military folks, that they struggle. Some of them struggle with the transition between being in the military and now going into civilian life. Other people struggle with, I saw some really bad things when on a deployment, and now I'm reintegrating back into family life and just life in general.
I want to say the Mission 43 and Challenge Athletes Foundation, those two groups have been phenomenal in what they've done for me.
Inside, we don't stop. Global, worldwide, we don't stop. From the bottom to the top, we don't stop. From the burbs to the block, we don't stop. Outside, inside, we don't stop. Global, worldwide, we don't stop. From the bottom to the top, we don't stop. From the burbs to the block, we don't stop. Outside, inside, we don't stop. Global, worldwide, we don't stop. From the bottom to the top, we don't stop. From the burbs to the block, we don't stop. Outside, inside, we don't stop. Global, worldwide, we don't stop. From the bottom to the top, we don't stop. From the burbs to the block, we don't stop.
Thank you very much all for joining us at Mission 43's first 43 Inc. Speaker Series of 2021. Hey, tonight we have a special guest speaker. There's not many guys like him around, and he happens to be an Idahoan. Recently an Idahoan.
Recently.
But it doesn't matter. If your zip code is Idaho, you're an Idahoan. Josh Sweeney, a Paralympic gold medalist, and, by the way, a Purple Heart recipient from Afghanistan when he was serving as a U.S. Marine.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So we're just going to get into it, and specifically, where were you at in the fall of 2009, and what were you doing?
Yeah, so 2009, I had just finished Scout Sniper School while in the Marine Corps out in Hawaii, and we were prepping to get ready for deployment to Afghanistan, and I didn't really know where we were going or what we were going to be doing, but obviously as a sniper is just going to be to surveillance, target acquisition, and kind of be any kind of support we could be, and so we were just getting ready to deploy.
Well, just so everyone knows, like Scout Sniper School in the Marine Corps is a really easy school from what we've heard, right?
Yeah,
anyone can do it.
No, yeah, it's definitely difficult, and it was I think it was really important going, or at least knowing that I was going to be deploying, and kind of solidified, like, don't take this lightly and make sure that you pay attention because you're going to use the material you learned fairly quickly.
Yeah, no kidding. So you're, 22 years old at this point?
Yeah.
So you're a 22-year-old brand new Marine Scout Sniper, and you deploy to southern Afghanistan, right?
Yep,
Nowzad. So that's the area, for those that don't know, southern Afghanistan is it was owned by the Marine Corps for quite some time. It was one of the most kinetic areas in the entire war zone or theater of Afghanistan, especially at that time. So you get there in probably late August or September. Did you have any premonition of what you were getting yourself into?
No, not really. And I remember it all kind of felt, surreal in that you going through boot camp and going through everything, and you hear a lot about it, and you hear what you're going to be doing and what's going to be asked of you. And I think you just joke about it a lot of kind of what's going to be happening, and it just doesn't really feel real. And especially growing up in Phoenix, Arizona, like when we got to Afghanistan, just felt like the desert. Like it didn't feel like I was somewhere deadly, and so.
It's not a glowing endorsement for Arizona, by the way. Just,
Sorry.
Idaho is definitely the favored state, but
yeah.
does not remind us of Afghanistan. Take that, Arizona.
Yeah, but it was and I think it all started to sink in when you start to do the training when you get there, and they kind of walk you through what, like they have a little thing they'll walk you through what IEDs could potentially look like and what you're going to be getting into. And I still remember just kind of joking about it along the way, because that's how you cope, I suppose.
Yeah, not just you. I think that's a normal thing for any combat arms, troop, Marine, soldier, whatever it is, anybody in the situation of life and, potential imminent death
Yeah.
deals with things in their own way. So you never felt like the fear, you didn't know or feel, have that premonition? Because there's some dudes that do like dead men walking is how they cope with it. Like, well, I just know I'm going to die, so I'm cool with that. And other ones are like, oh, I think I'll get hurt, but I'll be cool.
No, I actually was probably on the very far end from the whole I know I'm gonna die. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm gonna survive or I'm invincible. It was just more of a like, I remember joking with my buddies like, hey, if I get blown up, just hand me a pistol and some grenades and you guys can keep going, or just stupid stuff like that. It was so far from my mind as far as not only it happening to me, but just happening in general. And I think that was my way of coping with the fact that I was in such a dangerous situation and where I was at.
Were you there? Did you witness, or while you were there, did you witness anybody get hurt around you?
Yeah, and it was actually, it wasn't, so we had a 7-ton that ended up going over an IED, and we all essentially went out as a reactionary force when I was there to get that vehicle back to base. And they weren't super hurt, but that was my first kind of like, oh, this is happening. And, we're sitting in the 7-ton slowly chugging along to get to where we're trying to go. And there's mortars like falling next to this, and you're just kind of sitting there like, well, all right. And so that was kind of my first, and then seeing them injured, it was kind of like, oh, okay, it's real. But I still just kind of like, oh, I'm here doing what I'm doing, and that's that. And then it wasn't until the day that I got hurt that I saw somebody else get hurt.
So that day was October 28th, 2009, right?
Yep.
So how did it start out?
Yeah, so it was just a routine. We had an idea of where things were going on in the area, and it was actually across this little river. And so we were trying to see what was happening, and we were trying to get into a position where we could sit there for a day or two and figure out kind of how things were moving and who was driving what and who was doing what.
And sorry, just for those that don't know or understand exactly like what a scout sniper mission looks like, how many guys are with you at this point?
Yeah, it's slowly increased over the years due to teams getting compromised or like getting killed or injured or
trouble.
whatever.
Real trouble.
Yeah, and so back in the day, like in Vietnam, it was like 2 or 1. Now you go out and 1 or 2 teams, but usually it's at a minimum 1 team of 8, so that you have enough for security to be on the ground of your team, and then you have your shooter and your spotter, and so you're all a sniper team, and most of you are probably snipers, but you're all fulfilling different jobs and duties, and then those will change throughout the different missions.
I like how you portray that a team of 8 is like a significant team. Like, no, we're good. We rolled 8 deep through this like known Taliban haven.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah, I think the day that we went out, there was 12 of us, because we had our.
Oh, dude, come on, 12. You're good.
Yeah, and it was actually it was interesting, and it was a little different because our team leaders that we normally had been injured due to kind of so when I was in that 7-ton before, when getting like the mortars were going off and whatnot, on the way back, that 7-ton ended up hitting an IED. And like all of us in the 7-ton were fine, except for a couple guys that just had like something hit them in the head or something. They were just feeling kind of off. So so that team was a little lighter by 2 guys than we normally would have had, and they were 2 of our more experienced guys.
Right.
So I don't know how that played into the whole scenario, but a couple of us stepped up and had to be in that position.
So you were in team leader position that day?
Assistant team leader, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so essentially what happened was we went out. We knew we were leaving early in the morning, so we got together. We went out, and before the sun came up, we kind of set into this tentative position on this rooftop. And it was like a little compound. I mean, and granted, like where we were at would have been the equivalent of like a neighborhood. Like there was buildings everywhere. It wasn't like it was like, and it was kind of patchy, but like where we were at, there it was all these buildings. So it was just kind of compounds and walls and this and that. Nothing was really over. There wasn't too many second stories, so you could pretty much get on the roof of one building and see. So then when the sun came up, we just kind of realized like we can't do anything. We're like, what are we doing out here? Kind of pointless. And we figured, well, if we just go a little further, we might be able to have a better idea of what we're looking at, or be able to get a little more eyes on of what we're trying to see. So that's what we did. Is we all packed up, grabbed our stuff, and then as we were moving through, unbeknownst to us, we ended up in this area called Amputee Alley. So obviously it has that reason, or that name for a reason, right? And we were good, and we made it through there until we got into this other little, house, little compound thing, and we took a short security halt, and we were starting to get a little backed up, and there was people like. So you want to keep enough dispersion so if an IED goes off, only one guy gets hurt, right? Well, we were starting to get too packed into this thing, and I was like, all right, well, we got to go. And then I turned around, and I was kind of right by a wall that had a bunch of windows that I was going to have to jump through one of the windows, and that's when a bomb went off underneath me, and it was one of, and I was actually on top of a concrete structure. So like if there was a wall here and there was a bunch of windows here, I had stepped onto a concrete structure like this, and the windows were here, and there was this dirt mound, and I remember thinking like, do I take the dirt mound or do I not take the dirt mound? Like, do they think like, is there gonna be something in that dirt mound, or do they think I'm gonna think there's something in the dirt mound and they're going to put something outside of the dirt mound thinking I'm not. So anyway, so I remember sitting there thinking that and being like, So and that's when I kind of was like, well, whatever, and waited. And then I never had the chance to pick, because as soon as I turned around, I don't know, they said it was potentially daisy chained, so there would be like more than one attached to each other, but it went off. I was injured. And then a couple of my buddies that would be like over here got injured. I was the most severely injured, and I remember as soon as it happened, like thinking, like no joke, I remember literally as soon as it went off, I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to get blown up. And I've said that before, and it's like the truest statement ever. Because like when you're in a car accident, or when you're in a like when you're going to drop a plate, and then when you drop a plate and you're like, oh, okay, so that's what would happen. I dropped that plate, and it explodes everywhere, Yeah, so it's almost slow motion. Yeah. So that was essentially what had happened is as I was getting in the process of getting blown up, I remember thinking that, and then as soon as I hit the ground, I remembered saying like, help, and the corpsman that was with us was amazing, and immediately started patching me up, and then a couple of the other guys were injured, and so then it became kind of a circus. And at the same time, in any kind of IED explosion that we've ever, at least that I've ever been around or whatever, as soon as an IED goes off, like you can expect mortars, and you can expect fire or rounds coming your way, and so that's exactly what happened. And then they were trying to get to us to try to get us out, and the mortars were going off, so they couldn't just drive the vehicles whenever they wanted or wherever they wanted. And they also had to clear the area. Mm-hmm. And then the helicopters overhead trying to get down to us, but can't because we don't have an area cleared out. So then it was like 2.5 hours later or something, and they finally were able to bring some people in. But then during that time, the reactionary force that was coming to get us, there's an individual, Cody Stanley, that got killed, who was coming through just a compound, ended up stepping on an IED, and he wasn't too far away. And I remember laying there and being like, oh, like, was that one of our guys? Because our guys had kind of gone out to sweep some more to try to clear out, and it ended up being him. And so we got out of there, and it was a totally crazy day, and I wasn't able to get any kind of pain meds or anything because I was bleeding so much. So they essentially did tourniquets, and
it's not comfortable.
No, and I remember the tourniquets of everything. Like I had hand and arm injuries and everything. I remember the tourniquets were the only thing that hurt the most, and it was kind of like like I was fine. I felt fine, and I think it was the adrenaline,
Yeah.
except for the tourniquet strap. Like I was just like, oh my God, would you loosen that thing, dude? You know? But at the same time, I didn't say that.
Glad you didn't.
Yeah,
They would
right?
have listened to you anyway.
No,
But
he
did you
wouldn't.
feel getting blown up? Like, I know you were conscious during the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Did you actually feel pressure, heat? Did you get banged around?
I felt like I hit the roof, so there was
Yeah.
like a roof right here. Like I felt like I literally like went up, hit the roof, and then slammed back down on my back.
The worst, like, Tom and Jerry episode ever.
Yeah. And I don't know for sure if that happened. That's
one
what
will
it
know.
felt like. Yeah, I don't know. But
Did you know your legs were gone?
no, not like to the extent.
Yeah.
I knew something happened. Honestly, it was kind of similar to, I don't know. It's just kind of how I end up living my life, where I don't think too much about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I just kind of roll with it, and I just throw myself into something and go.
Well, that's
and-
evident, but that's later in the story, Josh.
Sorry.
No, you're good, man.
So as I'm living through this, you know, I do remember looking at my hand and being like, whoa. And then, you know, Corman was like, nope, and put a sheet over me. And so that I couldn't see anything more. But
Very comforting.
yeah.
Don't look at your body.
Yeah.
It's
And,
terrible.
but I didn't know the extent. And I actually think the funniest part of it was when I finally got into the 7-ton. So that they call it dock in the box. So it's this 7-ton
Yep,
vehicle
yep.
with a doctor and a bed and like some little cots on the side so that extra people that are injured can ride in there. And I remember as soon as I get in it, the corpsman or nurse or whoever it was like, oh, we have amputations. And I remember just kind of laughing to myself because it was almost like well, duh, like, of course. And then they threw the gas on me and I was out. So
And what's the next thing you remember after that?
I remember being put on an airplane or some kind of bus, getting bussed from. I was on some kind of bus, and I remember seeing my buddy Gritter, who I was basically went through the Marine Corps with, and he was injured too. And I remember looking over at him and like being like, "Okay, cool." Little did I know that later he thought my brain was fried. Like he thought I was just like toast. And I don't know if it was because of the drugs I was on or what, but he was like, dude, I thought you were like, I don't know. And I was just sitting and like,
This hits kind of close to home here, Josh, but that's okay. That's all right.
I think it's funny, you know, later, but I remember that. And I remember getting put on an airplane, and I kind of remember being like in and out on the airplane.
Yeah.
But then I just remember being, and I remember waking up in Germany for half a second, and I forgot what I asked the nurse. It was something ridiculous, and then I passed back out. And then just waking up in Bethesda and having my family there. That was
That was the first time you saw your family after it?
Yeah.
So you're 22 years old. You had been deployed, and this is your first like Afghanistan deployment.
Yep.
And you've been there for all of about 2 months.
Like barely. Like maybe like a month.
Maybe a month, and then this happens.
Yeah.
And so who is there in your hospital room when you wake up?
Yeah. So it was my mom and my stepdad, and I think he was there. I just remember there was just like a bunch of family, and I was still on a ton of drugs. So like I don't remember exactly, and I was having really weird dreams, and but like I knew that my family was there, so it was like, all right, cool. Like
What did you dream about in those early days? I mean, I'm not talking like the drug stuff, but that period of recovery. Like, what were your dreams like?
Honestly, I don't remember dreaming too much after the drugs. I remember when I was on the medication, it was extremely vivid. Like, I remember having a dream where like my legs were legit being cut off by like a chainsaw, you know, stuff like that. I was just like, I'd wake up and be like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And, but then after that, you know, I was always so tired. I don't really remember dreaming. And cause I just felt like I was just so exhausted. And I've never really had issues sleeping, since then, I think, cause I'm always wearing myself out.
Yeah. No kidding. So you didn't have anything recurring necessarily, but like obviously the sensation, were you in pain at that time?
Yeah, so like nerve pain is obviously there, you know, and it kind of like you feel like you can feel your toes, and you feel like you're moving them, but you're not, and it's this kind of, It's like a sharp pain in your leg. Oh, so if your leg was to fall asleep as it's waking up, that's the feeling, except it's kind of painful. And over time that goes away, and they do have medication. Some people end up needing to be on medication. I was able to get off the medication for everything, but that took the longest. I think that took until like a year or 3 years. 3 years ago, I finally like didn't really feel that anymore. But
So
yeah,
you-
it took a little while.
You were in Bethesda. Now it's like joint Bethesda Walter Reed. Not that long before you transferred to another facility, right?
Yeah, so I was in the ICU in Bethesda, and then as soon as so they gave me a month. They were like, all right, in a month we think you'll be good enough to transfer out of here. Where do you want to go? So I told my mom and my stepdad and my dad, and I said, hey, like, I have no idea. Can you guys figure this out? Where's the best place for me to go? And they chose San Antonio, Texas, for the Center for the Intrepid, which is absolutely amazing. And so I was I got to ride on what are those little super fast jets. I remember I went from Bethesda, got on an airplane, and they have this bus that has like a light, and they just drive you to the airport with like a light, like they're like a cop essentially, and it was the coolest thing ever. So,
I feel like Kanye West going to the G6.
yeah, like they just
Nice.
they pull up and they throw you on, and I was still kind of like I still had IV bag and stuff, and then it was like a G6 jet, like
Yeah,
no joke,
dude.
yeah, and
I watch rap videos. I know.
it took like an hour and a half, or maybe not even that, and I was down in San Antonio, and I was just
What?
like, whoa, yeah, my stepdad got to ride on it too. I think he
From
really enjoyed it.
Baltimore.
From Baltimore, yeah.
What
They just
the-
like went super high, and then just it was nuts. But yeah, then I was in San Antonio, Texas, starting my rehabilitation. It actually took me a week or two longer to get out of the hospital there, and that was like surprisingly the hardest time of the whole thing, because I think that's where I started to have hope that I was going to be getting out, as much as I had no idea what that was going to look like.
Right.
And then it was like, oh, hey, some of your levels still aren't good. You have to stay in here for another week. And then my family wasn't there because it was supposed to be like a quick little in and out.
Is that why you wanted to get out? Like, why? What was the push to escape the hospital jail?
I have no idea. I think it was I just wanted some sort of taste of freedom, of
Yep.
like, just something. And even though I had been outside, it was just, I just wanted to have some sort of control, even if it was
Yeah.
horrible.
Right.
Some sort of control over what I was doing. And that was probably the hardest time during my rehabilitation, because I was in this middle area, where I was just kind of waiting and waiting. And I was fortunate to only be, only have to wait a week. I didn't have to sit in there for 6 months like some of these guys do. So
Yeah. At what point during that, like at the Center for Intrepid, did you make the decision that like competition is your way forward? Or did you even know that at that point, or does it come later on?
I remember the first thing that really kind of sparked some drive in me was that I couldn't do any pull-ups, and I remember my hands, and being in the Marines,
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Pull-ups are a big deal.
So, I had my hands kind of, they couldn't grip really well because of nerve damage. And I remembered I went over to a pull-up bar and I tried to do a pull-up and I couldn't. And I was so just like, it was kind of upsetting in that, like I kind of felt bad, but it was more of, like a fire was lit. Like I gotta be able to do like some sort of pull-up. So anyway, then that's where I started to kind of get going. And the Center for the Intrepid is amazing in their ability to, I guess, kind of force the love of competition within you, because they will always use others to show you what you could be doing. Guys that have been there a little longer, they'll say, well, he did it or this, and I'm super competitive, obviously.
Surprise.
So as soon as they said, well, so and so did this and that, I was like, all right, well, I got to try to do better than that. And then on top of that, they do sports every Friday. So like for the afternoons on Fridays, it was sports, and it was a game, and whether it was like dodgeball,
Yeah.
and I mean, you're in a chair and like my hands are wrapped up and you're still playing dodgeball. Like it doesn't matter. They don't really care like where you're at. It's just a matter of having fun and like feeling like you're a kid again. And that's where I think I just started to fall in love with the fact that I could still do sports. Like, you know, I could still do that. And
Were you surrounded there by other like combat wounded service members?
yes, so it's all inside that building. It's all combat injured service members, and
At that time.
yeah, and so and I remember it was mainly double amputees. We didn't really start seeing triple amputees till a couple months after that.
Was there competition there? Like, hey, dude.
No, they were always. I mean, I will say, I always looked up to them. Like, there was always something about like, you know, like somebody that is a little less fortunate than you, and you see what they're doing, and you see how they're striving to be the best of themselves.
Yep.
And there's that, like, oh, it's so cool. I got to try to do that. And
I'm
and
familiar
those
with
guys.
that feeling.
I mean, yeah, like there was his name was Larkin, and he was an officer in the Army, and I remember him, and he was always just getting after it, and I remember being like, all right, so I gotta do that.
So the drive for competition is nothing new for you. Like, that's something that has probably innately been with you since you were born.
Yeah,
But-
I think the military helped solidify it too.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And you were competitive in that process. And then, but still, you are 22, 23 at this point. You just had your body like violently changed. Like, at any point during that, did you feel sorry for yourself?
No, and I think
Not
it
even?
was
Okay.
right. No, like I remember having a couple days where like I might start randomly crying, and it was really weird because it wasn't like I was sitting on my couch and thinking like, oh, I just wish I had legs, and I started crying. Like, I just remember being like super emotional. And I remember the first time like my wife thought I had TBI was when we were leaving I was staying in the Fisher House, which is amazing, and we were leaving, and a cannon went off. I forgot why it goes off in San Antonio, but a cannon went off, and when I heard the blast, I immediately started crying, and it was just a weird. Oh, and I was in AT&T one time, and it was they had this game. They had like Call of Duty or something on, and I was like, I don't really want to, but I kind of want to. So I picked up the controller, and then my dude got blown up, and it felt so realistic in the game that I was like, no, and I got upset. And so there was that was happening kind of at that time that I kind of felt bad about. Not really, I guess, but it wasn't myself. It was just more the situation. But there's also, I think, when you first get injured, it's new.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's exciting, but it is kind of a new, exciting world that you're in. And it's not exciting and like, oh, this is fun, but it's just exciting and like what am I doing now? Like, what does this look like? What does that look like? How am I going to do this? And I think I still kind of carry that excitement when it comes to sports, especially now. Because instead of looking at something and thinking I can't do that, now it's a matter of like, oh well, how can I make this work for me?
Yeah.
But I've always had a very positive mindset. I think especially the Marine Corps, it's always like I feel like positive mindset's like one of the first things they slammed at you because everything from boot camp until sniper school, it's all like you have to constantly keep yourself in a positive mind frame so that you can do all the horrible things that you have to do to put yourself through to be able to accomplish these.
And that you're going to get beat down doing it. It's
Yeah.
going to hurt. They're going to make it hurt. And I mean, combat hurts, life hurts, all that stuff, but you're constantly bouncing back. It's the ultimate resilience tool.
Yeah.
But not everyone takes that from the military. Like, I'll speak for myself. Like, I had a lot of experience in that type of resilience, but when things broke, they really broke. And I lost a lot of that, I feel, and you just didn't. Like, do you think you ever struggled from PTSD?
No, I think I was really fortunate in that I didn't. I mean, I know I have some underlying like frustration, but I think I have the outlet of sports to be able to relieve that.
Yeah.
And it's not so much frustration in like a super angry way. It's just like, especially with hockey, like it was awesome because that was like the early years when I started playing sled hockey, and I'm super frustrated because I'm learning all these new things and I can't do certain things and I can't do other things. But then I get on the ice and I'm just like, all right, open season, slamming into people, and just the body checking and the physical contact and kind of feeling like, all right, I can take a hit and get back up and it hurts, but I can keep going. Just feeling that again, I think is what has helped. And then with, with like hand cycling, like when I do in the evenings, like if I had a hard day, whether it was life or, my kids or myself and parenting and being frustrated with what comes with that, I get on my bike and I can literally just hammer down and put all my frustration into those pedals.
Dude.
And then, an hour and a half later, I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah. The significance of suffering, like some people have the ability to use it as a crutch. Other people have the ability to use it as a tool. You obviously are one that uses it very much as a tool. Where others of honestly like lesser character, and I think the experience that you had as a 22-year-old and before that, but the experience of losing your legs in that manner, like definitely led to some like post-traumatic growth in a really exponentially small period of your life. So from 22 years old, you go through this rehab. At what point do you decide you're going to try out for the Paralympic hockey team?
Yeah. So in San Antonio, there's a nonprofit organization, Operation Comfort, that works with service members, and they have a sled hockey team. And there was other individuals that were going through the Center for the Intrepid that were playing on the team, and and then my one of the physical therapists had heard that I had played hockey previously, so they were like, hey, well, you should come out and try it. And at that point in time, I remember I was still in a power chair, and I had the little, it's like this big old power chair, and I'm in this like van, and I'm cruising around, and I was thinking like, I don't know if it's something I'm going to want to do, because that's what I did when I was younger. Is it going to feel the same? Is it going to feel different?
Am I going to be a disappointment?
Yeah, is it going to be a disappointment? And I was like, I might as well just go. So I went and I got in the rink, and the smell of the rink, it just reminded me so much of hockey when I was a kid. And then when I got up to the glass and I saw them hitting each other, and I saw how fast it was, and nobody was in a wheelchair, and just everybody looked like they were having so much fun, and they were just people playing hockey sitting in sleds. It wasn't necessarily like I didn't look at someone and be like, oh, he's missing this, or he has that, or it was just like watching the plays and watching how it was developing, and it was the game, and it was totally equal across, because everybody was in the same sled and everybody, was equal. And I remember thinking, I got to do that. So that was when I started playing, and I didn't even really know there was a Paralympics. Like I still didn't even know that existed. But kind of like with all the sports that I do and with everything I've done, it's always just a matter of throwing myself into it and then seeing what happens, seeing if I love it, if I don't like it, if it's something I want to pursue or not. And that's what I did with hockey. And so then I played for one season, barely, and then tried out for the team and made it.
When he says the team, you mean the US Olympic sled hockey team?
Yeah, like the USA national team.
Cool.
And
So, there's some of us that like think, I don't know, winning like a high school state championship is like the bee's knees, right? I'm 38 years old and I'm still really proud. Go Patriots. But yeah, you brush over some things like that, but just want to make sure that everyone out there, like he's talking about the US Olympic hockey team. Yeah. And that's right before the 2014 Sochi Olympics, right?
Oh, well, no, that was the national team, but it's still the same team they take to the Paralympics, but it was it's the national team. And so you have to continue to go, but it was literally just because I had played the game before, and I could see the ice and I could understand how play was developing. So even though I wasn't fast at that time, I knew exactly where the puck was going to be, so I appeared fast because I was always where the puck was going to be.
You appeared fast when I saw you play, and I don't know for the people out there, like if they're thinking like, oh, sled hockey, like this is adaptive hockey, like it's extremely violent.
Yeah,
it's disturbing.
Yeah,
because like at least like able-bodied like standing hockey players have an ability to get out of the way or like move their legs when they get. I don't know, but seeing you guys
go like this.
Yeah, just brace.
Just brace.
Well.
If you're not next to a wall, then you just lay on your side and let them slide by.
It's the sloth defense.
Yeah. Just lay on your side, and then you can get back up and keep going.
But no one helps you guys up.
No. It's
How do you propel yourself, for those that don't know?
Yeah, so you have two sticks, and you have they have spikes on the end. So as you're holding the upper, I guess it would be the tops, which if you turn the stick over is the blade of the stick. But to propel yourself, you hold onto the blade, and then you have the stick underneath with spikes on the end. So you're
spikes on the end. They're
Yeah,
metal
you're digging-
spikes at the end of a hockey stick. I played hockey a little bit when I was young, and they did not have metal spikes at the end of them. Sorry,
yeah,
just pointing it out.
yeah, and
It's extremely dangerous.
They do hurt, like they are used, not like
Yeah.
if you're in a corner and you got the, it might, but.
Yeah. I saw like we had the calf hockey clinic that you came up and coached here that happened last year through Challenge Athletes Foundation Idaho. Mission43 provided volunteers, and they're like, "Hey, you want to get in a sled?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I saw like the spiky things and the kids like doing this and that. I'm like, "Oh, my back hurts." Feeling kind of out of balance.
Yeah.
So sorry, man. You're playing death hockey in a sled with spikes on your hands.
Yeah.
And at what point did you know you were going to be like actually playing in the Olympics?
Yeah, so then the tryouts for the 2014 is actually 2013 and 14 season,
okay.
And so you go the summer of 2013, and that's when you make the team. And I felt like I had fairly solidified myself after winning gold at a world championship a couple years before, and then like I felt like and I had the leadership behind me. It was kind of like, all right, I better make it, and I still worked my butt off. I mean, I'd like to think I was one of the harder working guys on the team, along with a handful of us.
You were in a leadership role as well.
Yeah, I ended up being the alternate captain for the team, which was amazing, and I loved it. Yeah.
How does representing the United States of America as an Olympian compare to representing the United States as a United States Marine?
Yeah, that was honestly, it hit me super hard. The first World Championships I went to in Norway, and we had won gold, and I was sitting on the line, and you're looking up at the flag, and they're playing the national anthem because they play the national anthem whoever won, and that's when it hit me super hard that I was back representing my country in a way that I felt was similar to my time in service.
Yeah. So 2014 Sochi Olympics. The final, it's against Russia, USA-Russia. It's a 0-0 game. What happens?
Yeah, yeah. What happens is I keep telling the other guys to score. That's what actually happened.
That's leadership, assistant captain.
I kept saying to some of the leading scorers, I'm like, dude, were you getting a score or what? Because that wasn't ever really my role. But then in the second period, ended up my role on the team was to always put pressure on the defensemen as they were coming up the ice. And then, hope they mess it up or turn it over or throw it back into the corner so that we can all go back in. And I just got super fortunate in that I went in and I was putting pressure on the defenseman, and he went to pass it and saw me, but couldn't take the pass back. So he released it and then saw me and then was like, but it was already gone. And so I picked it up and went in and scored.
And he scores! Oh my. The giveaway, and the U.S. puts it in. Bravo Delta, lighting up the scoreboard.
You say you went in, you had a breakaway in the Olympic championship game,
Yeah.
the gold medal game against Russia. Did you know what was going to happen? I know you have hockey vision. People that are gifted in those sports have that vision. Did you know you were going to score that goal?
No, and especially with that goalie and the fact that nobody had scored yet, which is always kind of a mind game when you're playing. Honestly, I picked the one shot I probably shouldn't have picked. And if you watch the replay, the goalie lays down and goes to the right. If I'm looking at and I went to the right when it's like, oh, dude, you should have just gone to the left. You would have had a wide open net. You could have just used a little left. It would have been super easy. But because I was going in so fast and honestly just muscle memory, I mean, I had been skating 3-4 times a week, put so many hours in with different goalies, and it was just muscle memory. I mean, I kind of, it's like that joke where you're like, oh, I blacked out what happened.
It happens a lot.
But it kind of happened. I went in, and then I just remember my body just doing whatever it was supposed to be doing to score, and I came out of it and was super pumped that I scored because, literally, it was like, I shouldn't have shot there, but.
And what was the final score of that gold medal game?
Yeah, 1-0.
Yep, against.
Final score. Thank you.
So your second gold medal now. This time you're the dude that actually wins. The score is the winning goal, the only goal of that game.
No.
What did you feel like, man? What was the night in the hotel that night like?
I mean, I ran the place. So. No, it was it was cool. I always downplay everything I do. Obviously.
I'm asking you not to.
Yeah, but I mean, like even in that moment, like I was downplaying it, and
Gotcha.
and I don't know why I do that. It's just kind of what I do. But it was it felt like all my years of working so hard to try to be a goal scorer on the team or to fit into a specific role on the team. And like half the tournaments. I mean, and on the national team, like when you're playing games, like you maybe only get 10 to 15 games a year to perform. So like, NHL season's like 90 something or whatever it is. We get like 10 to 15. So really in that moment, in that evening, I was just kind of sitting back and enjoying the fact that I had been who I wanted to be all those years leading up to it, and was able to make such a big difference for the team.
Yeah. Did you feel, I don't know, like you earned it, or did you feel lucky?
No, I just felt lucky. I mean, it like, and especially with the way those games go and the way goalies are, and they're so good, and it's just like, it was just like I got lucky. Like that's how I felt, and I mean, I still feel that way, especially with the way that everything happened and the way that we lost to Russia in the preliminary rounds, and then, and then came back to beat Canada. And if the guys, Farmer and Brody and that, everybody else that was playing, and Cash, the goalie, who always does an amazing job, like if they wouldn't have essentially beaten Canada for us, like there never would have been a Russia game. So I just felt really lucky to be able to be in that position and make that happen.
So with doing that, with being like the man from the 2014 Sochi Olympics, what made you look at another sport after sled hockey?
Kids.
Yeah. So when did you start your family?
Yeah. So I had my wife had our son in 2015, and I had continued to play during the year that he was born, and that was ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
I mean, that was harder than like anything I had done.
I'm sure your wife was super happy about it.
No, and he was like 4 months old at one point, and I had to go to, I think it was 4 months, and I had to go to St. Louis, and she goes, "No, we're all going."
Yeah.
So we all went, and it was crazy. But after that, I decided I needed to take a year off.
Yeah.
And that turned into a couple years, and then I was going to go back and try out for the 2018 team. But my wife was pregnant with my daughter, who was going to be born 2 months before those games. And, it's just not worth it. And I decided to pass up on that. Went back and played the season after that. So the 2018-19 season.
Yep.
And it was kind of a hard year. It was kind of hard getting back into it. All the kids were young, and I had taken a couple years off, and everybody was flying and doing so well. And I felt like I was just kind of like there, like I didn't feel like I was that same person that I was before. And then I ended up having to get my some surgery at the end of the year and couldn't even go to the World Championships.
But you were on the national team when you say, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so I just decided that was kind of my cue. It was time to find something better. Not better, but different.
Move into retirement, never do anything physical again.
Yeah.
But then you decided you were going to try your hand at para-triathlon.
Yep. Yeah.
And by the way, you were named that year, the very first year you did it, the developmental para-triathlete of the year.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how'd that go?
Yeah. So that year was actually really funny. So the same time I'm playing, so 2018-19, the same time I'm playing hockey, I'm also realizing I can't go to the rink all the time and I can't skate all the time because I'm watching my two kids. And so I had to find a different way to train, and that's where I started hand cycling, and then I was going to the pool in the evenings to swim, and I started looking at times, and I was like, wow, like I'm fairly competitive in these fields. I wonder if I picked up learning how to use a racing wheelchair, if I could actually compete. And so,
how does it feel? Like, I mean, I'm learning what triathlon training feels like, and it's uncomfortable. But I have 4 limbs, so for you, like, I mean, you're not kicking, you're not running with your legs, and you're not burning your legs. So how does it feel? Like, how does the difference, I don't know, burn?
Yeah.
What different burn is swimming versus biking versus running for you?
It's definitely exhausting, and especially at the rate I was trying to do it. So most people spend years in the sport before they do any international events or get to like.
How long did you spend?
World like a year.
Cool.
You know, so I'm hammering. I'm riding the bike. I'm using the racing wheelchair, and then I'm also going swimming. And I had to balance that. And I found swimming was like the perfect activity for being able to jump back on the bike and the racing wheelchair and feel fresh.
Cool.
Without swimming, it was super hard. And so it did kind of end up balancing itself out, but honestly, rest was huge. And the fact that I had nothing else going on except for hanging out with my kids during the day and making sure they were fed and diapers and all that. Like,
make that sound really easy too, and I'm just here to say that is not the case.
Well, as far as like from a recovery standpoint,
Right.
sitting around the house, it was recovery, I suppose. Like I wasn't out working in my shop or having to, do anything. So, but yeah, it's super hard. It was super hard. And I did experience a little bit of a burnout after that season.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling super tired. But I was making a huge push to try to get to Tokyo, and I ended up going to the Tokyo test event that was in 2019. That was supposed to be for test event for the 2020 Paralympics. And then literally within that same month went to Switzerland for World Championships and got, I didn't get last, but I was almost. There was like one guy behind me. It was like 12th or something. But I felt really good about that going into it because I had only been in it a year.
Dude, with training that intense, and if anyone follows Josh on Zwift or whatever, or Strava, you get to see the intensity of his workouts on a regular basis. It's quite incredible, and somewhat humbling and shaming. But how, do you have a particular place you go mentally, like a mantra? Do you have a cue or any cues that you use when you're in this level of intensity?
When it gets super hard, I usually end up thinking about things that are frustrating me in my current day. Fortunately, I don't get too I don't hang on to things for very long.
Mm-hmm.
But like if it's an evening ride and like the day was just giving me hell, then I will channel all of that into that ride. But when I'm working out or I'm really taxing myself after, I kind of just end up in this zone where I'm literally just like blanking out. Like
100% honesty question.
Yeah.
What go-to songs go through your head, whether you want them to or not, when you're working out?
It's usually a lot of rap that's on my playlist. I don't really have anything. And honestly, I usually end up thinking of like, if I don't have music, it's like the most ridiculous kids songs or something stupid.
Dude, mine's Banana Phone by Rafi.
Yeah, but
That's so crazy. I hate that damn song, and it's stuck in my head for years now. My oldest is 5. Anyway, well, that and Mariah Carey's Sweet, Sweet Fantasy Baby. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if I was the only one, but you said kid songs, and
get
I
kid
know
songs popping
it's
in my head.
whoever's out there, I'm sure someone here also has a stupid kid song in their head every time they don't want it to be, specifically when they're physically suffering. But you did the paratriathlon, you had some burnout, but you immediately moved into the next venture of paracycling, right?
Yeah, so I kind of realized that triathlon wasn't going to be something I could continue to do financially. It was super hard. I felt like I was taking a lot of time away from being able to spend time with my kids in the evenings.
Yeah.
Even
Dude, the
during
time
day.
investment is insane.
Yeah, and then getting to a pool, like I haven't swam since all the, COVID lockdown stuff.
Well,
So,
how did COVID affect your training?
Yeah, it really did. I wasn't able to swim. All of my reason for training, I'm very performance oriented when it comes to like, I need a goal. I need something like tangible.
Yeah.
So it just kind of went out the window. Like it was more of like, all right, well, I fell back into, I'll just stay in shape to stay in shape in case things kick back off. And I was experiencing a little bit of burnout at that same time. So it was more or less just dial it back, get myself back to where I want to be. And but then during that time, I thought like, well, I could look into cycling. Cycling was something that I love doing, and it's only one event, so it's something
Right.
that I could train for and
A
make
third
happen.
of the training hours, essentially.
Yeah, and it's also a sport that has like at the beginning of the season, you know your season. You know what's going to be coming up. You know what events are happening versus triathlon. And to give you guys an idea, like international triathlon races, you only get told 30 days before the race if you're going to race. So like when I went to Tokyo and Switzerland, I only knew at a max 30 days before the race. I think Switzerland, I knew 20 or something.
Sounds like a huge financial investment as well.
Huge. And I had amazing nonprofits help me out with that. And I did get a lot of help. But it was just kind of like, I can't keep doing that. So with cycling, it was something that I could plan out. I could also make sure my wife could get covered for work if we needed help with kids, whatever. So I got into that, but then that also with all the COVID stuff kind of fell away.
Well, and your wife's a healthcare provider, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so with that, why did you guys choose to move to Idaho?
Yeah, she grew up in Nampa. She went to Bishop Kelly High School
Awesome.
and graduated from the College of Idaho. And so, it was kind of like, hey, we want family around. We got our 2 kids now, and I loved what Idaho had. I loved what Boise had with Challenged Athletes Foundation, Mission43. Like when I came to do the sled hockey clinic, I was just blown away. I was like, there's so much support here, and there's so many cool opportunities to hang out with like-minded individuals, and so it's kind of a no-brainer.
How long did it take you, if any time at all, since like being injured to now being, an elite adaptive athlete to feel comfortable with your body?
I would say sled hockey sped that process up super fast.
Yeah. Winning a gold medal will probably do that, though.
Well, I just mean in the fact that you don't get, or like you don't ever get to feel sorry about yourself when you're playing, or like, and there's no, like if you got in a sled, like I would not care, it was kind of, so.
I would care.
My body.
It's a death sport, but okay.
Yeah. But as far as, like I never once thought about myself. It was more about my performance or more, so with that, I think that's carried over. And honestly, like I don't even think about it anymore. And I mean, I have friends that'll be like, oh, I notice people looking at me or this and that. And it's like, well, they're curious. Like if I see somebody wearing a cool shirt, I'll be like, what? Like it's nothing that has to do, it's not like they're super concerned or like channeling their, whatever to try to heal you or whatever it is that they think they're, trying to do.
That would be awkward.
Yeah. Which I have had told. But anyway.
Oh.
It's just that people are just curious and they just want to know what's up. And they, if they see you, like if I get offered help all the time, but it's like, oh, I'm good. I got it.
You're not exactly one for accepting help.
I am horrible with accepting help. So.
Has that always been the case? Before injury?
I think so. Definitely after injury.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I'm trying to find the ceiling.
Yeah.
And I have accepted help. Like I needed help washing my trailer the other day. When you go to a car wash, it's just hard to be able to, and I have my trailer and I couldn't get I just knew it was going to be a total circus if I tried to wash it. So, that was something I was like, you know what, I need help with this. And I'm totally cool with asking for help when it comes to something that I don't think I can do, or I think would be extremely difficult. And I just don't want to get super frustrated in the middle of the day over washing my trailer because that could ruin my whole day.
Dude, it's a valuable lesson, I think, that a lot of people that should take from that. I mean, I ask my wife for help to clean my trucks all the time, but there's not a good reason for it necessarily. But so you've moved on now to the next venture. I'm talking like really recently, so I don't think anyone even really knows this except for the people that participated in the tryouts for the US Para Biathlon team.
Yeah. So it was so I just went to Utah, and it was an event that they had where they were racing cross country skiing and biathlon, so Nordic skiing. And I just figured, like everything I end up doing, it's like, all right, cool, give me my equipment and let's go.
So you just did that, like you just came back from that, and that was your first time ever being in a ski. So less than a month from being in a sit ski. How close were you to making the U.S. national team and being in Slovenia right now?
Yeah, like 5 seconds away.
5 seconds?
Yeah, it had to be 5. I don't know exactly, but it had to be because the guy that beat me was just barely in front of me, and he made it to Slovenia. So it was.
We heard you through those 5 seconds on purpose so you could be here with us tonight.
I said, hey, Mission 43.
That's a real commitment. Dude, you serve personally as a real inspiration for me. It's amazing to watch you work with younger adaptive athletes as well. Like just the times I've seen you do it. It's incredible. And it's really hard for anyone to feel sorry for themselves when they meet a person like you, whether able-bodied or adaptive, that just constantly strives and refuses to rest on any of their laurels. Whatever success you have, you seem to have some crazy superhuman ability to transfer it into the next thing. And you're never bitter about the old thing either. You just don't seem to rest on it. You don't seem to, I don't know.
Yeah.
You take pride in it, but what's your secret sauce, man?
I just put it in the sock drawer and move on.
That's
it?
it?
That's literally what I mean. I got a bucket full of all my hockey stuff sitting in my garage right now, and it's there in case my kids or anybody wants to look at it. But like as far, it's just like a chapter in a book. Just keep reading.
Can't thank
Write
you
that
enough,
down.
Dude, for being here, Josh. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks.
I think the relationship between Mission 43 and Challenge Athletes Foundation is so remarkable and spectacular. And not just organizationally, but like individually, the people that get to know each other and the relationships that develop from that are extremely mutually beneficial. And first, I wanted a round of applause for Josh for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Dude, thank you, man. It's amazing to talk to you, amazing to have you here. And in that, we're looking forward to continuing our relationship. You as both Mission 43 and a CAF Challenge Athletes Foundation Idaho member. And we wanted to highlight one other such individual grouping.
I'm out here with Scotty Smiley, and he is a blind adaptive athlete, so I'm his guide for the day.
At the time I was injured, I was possibly in the best shape of my life. I had my future, my plans, everything ahead of me, and then the next thing I know, I'm waking up in Walter Reed Army Medical Center, losing both of my eyes, can't move the right side of my body. My life is literally torn from me, and I don't even know how to take care of myself.
Scotty and I have a long history. We went to West Point together, so I've known him since before he was blown up in Iraq in 2005, so I knew him beforehand, so we had a lot of trust.
It's all based on trust, and that's what I love about it. Just what I learned throughout the military is communication, just talking clearly, concisely. For instance, in running, if there's a curb, if they don't know to let me know, I can trip, I can fall.
He's had an incredible hardship in his life, and he just lives a normal life, and he's just very inspirational to be around.
And for me, what is so enjoyable about the triathlons that I do, it's always a team effort. I have a partner in the water helping me, directing me, guiding me. I'm on a tandem bicycle, which we can talk to each other, motivate, inspire. That's what I see the importance of a sport. It's not just having fun, but it's physically staying fit, which helps, at least for me, staying mentally and spiritually strong. At one time in my life, I never thought I would be able to do, is to enjoy swimming, enjoy a bicycle, enjoy running, and just be with friends and family and loved ones that just enable us to do, again, making the impossible possible.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm really honored to introduce the director of Challenge Athletes Foundation Idaho, and also one of our prominent Leaders Fellows for Mission 43 that we're very proud of, as well as the culture warrior for Challenge Athletes Foundation Idaho, Jen Skisick and Willie Stewart.
Thanks, Dan.
Love you, brother. Love you too.
Come on, Willie. Man, Josh, thank you so much for sharing your story. I think we all learned so much, and every single day we look at what Josh Sweeney's doing. So we drug him into Nordic skiing, and we'll see what happens now, right, Willie?
Yeah, and I'll just let you know, Josh, I cry all the time, and that was incredible, and thanks so much for sharing that story.
So many of you guys are intimately aware of what CAF is doing here in Idaho, and the really interesting part is that we haven't even hit our second birthday yet, and that's a really special thing because of so many Mission 43 members being a part of every single piece that we've done, from the launch to tonight. And so many of you have dug in and been volunteers. You train with our athletes. You're part of the cycling club. You just track people on Strava, and you celebrate the smoke and fire finish. It's things like that that all of you have been part of, and we're just so thankful, and that's why we've been successful. And we're really excited about the future and everything that's coming.
Hey, we've been probably around a year, and we've done nothing but kick it hard. And I'll tell you one thing, it has to do a lot with Mission 43 being our brothers and sisters in the fight. So I appreciate you guys and girls like you wouldn't believe. Thank you so much.
Tonight we get to celebrate a couple of our athletes, though, and Willie is going to introduce you to our first recipient.
I just want to say that Lieutenant Colonel Skisik, who's out there in the crowd somewhere, he brought me over to the base, and he said, there's two things that we wanted to talk about. And one was resilience. And then the other was adaptability, resilience and adaptability. And those are things that we all can grab. They're things that we can latch onto. But when you grab those two things, you have to be able to also fight the fear of failure, the fear of being embarrassed, the fear that you're not good enough. And I know everyone in this crowd, there's none of us that doesn't think, I don't care who you are, that some days you're not good enough. And the fact is, when you fight that fear, you can change the way you are and the perceptions of others. And the person I have the honor to introduce is someone I think knows how to fight the fear, knows how to look stupid, because I'm a pro at it. And I fail at almost everything I've ever tried, but I keep on trying. And this fella, I had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of years ago, and we're skiing together, and he's falling on his face, and he looks ridiculous. And he kept getting up, and I admire that. And then he does triathlons, and he's successful. He's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialist, and he's successful. He's a Marine, and he's successful. And he knows what it's like to come back, and he knows what it's like to stay in the game despite what other people might think of you. And it's my honor to introduce Mike Duke. And as Mike worked his way up here, and I'm going to brag about you for a little bit, but to be a father is not exactly easy. To have children isn't easy. To stay married for multiple years is not easy. To have a job and a disability is not easy. And then to be a young Marine and lose your arm is not easy. Coming back and fighting when things are against you is not easy. And why Mike is more to me than resilience, he's more to me than adaptability. He's a role model to me and others. And I love the fact that we got this brother with us at Challenge Athletes Foundation, Idaho. And I want you to talk a little bit about what you do in your day-to-day. I know that you work at the VA, but I also know that you've taken on a new challenge, mountain biking. So tell us how it works, brother.
Thank you. I've had the pleasure of being with CAF now for about 8 years, and I think prior to that, I had no ambition to do a triathlon. I met a guy named Nico who does Operation Rebound, and next thing I know, I'm doing a Semper Fi triathlon. Next thing I know, I'm doing an Ironman. Next thing I know, I'm doing the CAF triathlon, doing a bunch of half marathons. And so the thing I love about CAF is just this empowerment program. And so they're going to give you the tools, and then you have to do something with it. And so, training your butt off to do a triathlon, a half marathon. And so, now a mountain bike, it's fun. I was very fortunate. I got my mountain bike, right towards the end of summer. So, the CAF does these phenomenal, bi-weekly mountain bike or road bike kind of cycling club that we got to be part of. Obviously winter came, so that got put on hold. I'm looking forward to that starting up again. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. Willie talks about resilience, and I think, my fellow Marine here, it's about adherence to the grind. This isn't easy. Life isn't easy. Being a person with a disability is not easy, but you just got to adherence to the grind. You got to get after it. You got to get up. You got to forgive yourself, but then you also just got to get after it. Each and every day you wake up and it's a new challenge. And so you can't give up. You just got to kind of fight the day. I am a division chief with the Department of Veteran Affairs. I run a veteran readiness and employment program. So we work primarily with service-connected disabled vets. Our primary goal is to get them suitably employed. but there's a lot that goes in with that, and so it's a great job. I've been doing it for a little over a decade now. I had the pleasure of being on base, the Naval Medical Center of in San Diego. I did that for several years and worked with all the wounded warriors that were in there, and it's just very rewarding. So my day is getting up in the morning. I got a 6-year-old, I got an 8-year-old, I have a wife in a doctorate program, and then just running my division, and then trying to, in between, I get some time. I set up my little basement office with a little workout. So hitting the workout. I think like many of us, I put on a little bit of weight during COVID-19. The beer flows good in my house. And I got kids, and I think I ate all their Halloween candy. So that's just part of life, right? That's part of the grind, and I'll get back after it with the running and the cycling and all that stuff. But I just can't thank CAF enough, man. And to have Jen, I think I was told that CAF was going to have an Idaho person come on board, and I just. To bring Jen on, I think you are the best that they could have possibly had here, and what you've done with CAF Idaho is remarkable. Yeah, big round for Jen, dude. She's a rock star. They found this guy in the swamps and in the drudges of I don't know what, Quinn Ponds or something like that.
I'm going back to the swamp after we leave.
That's right, man. It's swamp thing here.
Just one side thing with Mike is that a lot of us have been through hard days. And, Mike, he gets this, as a young man, he gets this flesh-eating, what's the proper word?
Bacteria.
Bacteria.
So I don't have a cool war story,
man. Wait, because I wanted to say this. But 64 surgeries later, 6 months in the hospital, and the cat's taking steps forward on a positive role model. I mean, 64 surgeries on anybody is brutal. And this dude's up here kicking it with his new mountain bike. And, this is the kind of stuff that CAF Idaho and partnered with Mission43. I mean, you're power, dude. And that's the way it is. And that's how it works. And I'll go back to the swamp. But I'll tell you one thing. I'll ride my bike out of it with you.
That's right, yeah. No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you, CAF. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
buddy. I'm going
to
trade with you. There you go. Yeah.
Is that supposed to be a secret and I blew it?
It is a big secret.
Thank you, brother.
So one thing you guys probably don't know is that within CAF, all of CAF, we have something called Operation Rebound. And that is specifically built for all of our adaptive athletes that have either served in the military or as a first responder. And so we are really excited to invite our next grantee because he is brand new to this family. And this will be his very first grant. He's new to Mission43, and he's new to Operation Rebound. Dan Nelson, I need you up here, too. Tony Eason, go ahead and join us.
Back again. Sorry, guys. Hey, I met Tony. Boy, I got hurt in 2017. I probably met you in 2019, maybe 2018. It just happened to be my family was eating at a breakfast restaurant in Eagle. And my kids had just spent about a year at Walter Reed with us, and we had seen a lot of guys with prosthetics and in wheelchairs. And they saw Tony sitting over there with his prosthetic leg. And my 3-year-old at the time, when he was walking by, I think he asked you if you were hurt in a war.
Right.
But that sparked a conversation. Probably not the thing to do or teach your kids to go up to random people that are adaptive athletes and ask them how they lost their limb. But it happened, and I'm really glad it did, because then I met a guy that had worked for over 23 years in law enforcement and had given so much as a public servant to his community that he ended up losing a leg for it. And I could tell even at that time, like, pain recognizes pain. I wasn't in a great place, you weren't in a great place, and we just kind of connected from there. And then time goes by and we stay in touch, but never really get together or hang out much. Until at this last nonprofit event past summer, I see Tony and his fiance pull up in a really badass pickup truck, and he gets out and says, "Where do you want me?" And he's limping around. And Amber, his awesome fiance, is doing everything all over the place. And long story short, Tony reached out, and I thought that this amazing program called Operation Resilient Path, that's really small in scope and scale at the moment, but it's an initiative of Mission 43 that helps veterans and first responders that are struggling from TBI, PTSD, and substance use disorder. And luckily, Tony decided to take that path with us. And it's an important thing to me because, you know, I'm not coming from a place to guys like Tony saying like, hey, come with me, do what I did, and you'll be awesome, because I'm still in it too. That's the truth. And I'm just really proud of you that you took that, man. And I just like you to say something about your experience and where you started and where you ended, because if I tell it, everyone's going to think I'm lying.
I probably can't do it without crying, but hey, whatever. I became a part of Mission 43 a couple months ago and actually participated in the hyperbaric treatment up in Haley, and it changed my life. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I've been treated by Mission 43 and the Challenged Athletes Foundation like I've never been treated before. I mean, it's humbling. I mean, I was law enforcement. You guys are mostly military, and you guys made the way for me, you know, with my prosthetic and that. I owe it to you guys. I mean, to the military and that. And now it's just like with Challenged Athletes and Mission 43, I could go talk about being screwed up, about being suicidal, you know, because honestly, 3 years ago today, I was sitting on the bed with a gun in my mouth. I mean, I'm just being honest. And we met in 18 because that was my last surgery. I think that was number 10 in about 9 years. And I never dreamed that I would feel the way I do. And I mean, Dan can attest to this. When we first met, even up until I went to hyperbarics, I couldn't walk. I had a cane, and I was up. I would sleep an hour and a half a night if I was lucky, because of the pain and all the other psychological stuff going with it. And now it's a completely different thing. I mean, he asked me the other day what I'm going to do, you know, riding and that. And my goal is to get up to 20 miles a day. I'm retired, I can do it. And I mean, my whole riding will be for Mission 43 as well as Aaron Butler. But it's just, Mission 43 and Challenged Athletes has got me to a space or a place I never ever dreamed. I couldn't see a day in advance, and now it's like there's no limit.
Dude, it's a place you deserve, man. Like, you say, yeah, Mission 43 is a military veterans initiative, but I'm telling you firsthand, like, being a cop is a different game. No matter where you're a cop, it's a different game of proximity. Like, we know we get on a plane and go overseas, there's a certain degree of separation between our families and what we see at work.
Right.
And that doesn't exist for guys like you, and you did it for a long time. And I'm just personally so proud of you for taking that journey, for being an active participant in your recovery. And now, with the grant from CIF, to see you out there just setting goals with no influence from us, 20 miles a day is a hell of a goal, man. But just like I said before you started the process, like the ORP program, the Operation Resilient Path, like Mission 43 as a whole is not in the business of empowering victimhood. It's empowering good public servants and you know, former service members. That's what it's about. And you are one of those, and we're just excited to see where the hell you go from here.
Thank you very much.
Hell yeah, Tony.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself, bro.
Congratulations. We love Grant Night. Can you tell? We get to tell these amazing stories. So if you see either of these guys out on their bikes, man, try to keep up with them. That's my challenge to you guys. Let's have more challenges, and let's do it together. And the last thing really is, you know, Willie and I are always meeting new people, and we're finding Idahoans who want to go break barriers down, and we encourage you guys to help us find them. I know that you have family, you have friends, you know a Tony or you know a Mike, and we have a grant program and we have a staff that really want to get to know them. So keep sending them our way. We love it. And you better be ready, because we've got a lot coming, and we're going to need a lot of volunteers, and we're going to need a huge cycling club. We've got some national championships coming to Idaho this summer. We've got some major competitors here, and we can't wait to do it with you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dan.
Hey, the bottom line is none of this would be possible. We want to thank the Warhawk Air Museum for hosting us here. John and Sue Paul, Todd Lindsay, Pat Kilroy. Thank you, everybody in the Warhawk team, for allowing us to use this magnificent venue multiple times for Mission 43 events, and it looks different this year. Like, obviously, compared to last year, it looks different, but it doesn't take away any of the meaning. Mission 43 and Challenge Athletes Foundation Idaho would not exist without the benevolence of the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Family Foundation and the gratitude or graciousness of the Scott family. So we just truly appreciate everything that that foundation and that family have done for these two organizations and all the individuals affected by it, because without it, Idaho would truly be a lesser place. In that, I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Family Foundation, Roger Quarles.
Should have probably ended with that. Well, first and foremost, thank you for coming tonight. And really wasn't quite sure what to say. And Mike's story and the stories are just truly unbelievable. But I'd like to share the definition of honor in Webster's. It's a transitive verb, to regard or treat someone with admiration or respect. To regard or treat with honor. Excuse me. To give special recognition to confer honor on, to live up to or fulfill terms of honor, a commitment. I can't think of two organizations that do this more impressively than Mission 43 and the Challenge Athletes Foundation. These two groups do exemplary work day in and day out for the people that we care about, and that's you all. We have a vision and a mission to accelerate opportunities in Idaho through leadership, learning, and strengthening communities. And these groups are helping us do that, and we're extremely grateful. You know, these nights don't happen without a lot of coordination and support, but Dan, remarkable job. So thank you, Dan Nelson, for putting all this together. Dan is one of the most humble people you'll ever meet in your life. He's a Silver Star recipient, Green Beret, amazing man, amazing husband. I said that for you. And father and friend and colleague. Jen, Brian, Allison, Devin, I'd like to thank you all. Melissa, I see you stand back there, Stacia, all of the team for putting this together. Our amazing friends here at the Warhawk Museum. You guys are incredible. Josh, you are simply an amazing human being, American and patriot. Your story is just inspirational through and through. And I'd like to end with just saying it's truly an honor to support these efforts and to be part of this. And I can't think of a better way to do it than we did it tonight. So thank you all for being here and being part of it. And thank you for letting us to provide the support to make these things happen. Thank you very much.